Hi everyone, I'm Richika Bindra, and today on #NoFilter, we are talking about weddings and what it really means to be a millennial getting married today. I can't even... Hello GTA, hello Toronto, hello all of our #NoFilter viewers. Thank you for tuning in yet again. I'm your host Richika Bindra. With me is our beloved social media guru Cassandra. Hi Cass.
Hi Richika. So today's episode is all about weddings, everything involving weddings, and this is something that we definitely think that everyone can relate to. So if you're someone who's about to get married, you know someone who got married, you've been to a wedding, absolutely anything, we want to hear from you. So make sure you tweet us at NoFilterRogers, anything, a question, a comment, and I'll read it on air.
Amazing, thank you so much. All right, so joining us later today is Susan Ramroop. She is from Beautiful Beginnings. She is a wedding planner, so we're going to talk to her a little bit. She's going to help us debunk some of the myths. She's going to help us tell us some of the reasons why we should have a planner. We're kind of really going to push her a little bit to give us the questions that we all want to know. So guys, I'd like to introduce my fabulous teen panelists today. We have Cora, Robert, and Lindsay. Hello.
Hello.
So I know that you're going to get married soon, and you're a photographer, and you're a millennial that really is wedding dreaming like all girls do. So it's a perfect mix for our table and our panelists today. So guys, I was doing some research, you know, apart from the fact that we've gotten so many tweets and requests, and when I go out and I chat with people about our show, I always ask them, what do you want to talk about? What is your feedback? And this was something that I didn't at first realize. We didn't touch on it on our first season, weddings, and you know, this whole aura around weddings and how big of an industry it is. And the more and more I thought about it, I was like, okay, this is something that we can really touch upon. So they say that millennials, more than any other generation, are not necessarily dollar-wise spending more, but they are creating larger sort of projects. They're making it into an event versus maybe, you know, in the 60s or a Generation X or baby boomers like our parents, their weddings, maybe, you know, they had saved up a lot, so they were giving really tangible wedding gifts, but their actual, like, environment and the scope of the wedding was much smaller. So why do you guys think that is?
Well, I think that the kind of increase in lavishness of the wedding and kind of perception of, you know, what makes a really great wedding is in part due to how niche our, you know, corporate system has become. You have these very large companies that can specialize in these very small things, and they're putting larger and larger marketing campaigns out there and specializing and almost creating the culture, I would say, towards these sorts of wedding events.
Okay, Lindsay?
I think that a really big reason why weddings have become so huge now and why they keep getting bigger and bigger is our connections to each other. We're all on social media. We're all posting things about like weddings that we've been to or weddings that we're having, especially Pinterest is a really big one. There's a lot more style ideas and more lavish
kind of dreams that you want to envision.
Exactly. There's more to look at and more to see, and there's more, you know, things to be desired. So
no, it's true. I think a big difference, and it just hit me now, is that back in the day we had more and more of a privacy, right? Your wedding was small, and I mean, for South Asian weddings they've always been big, but it was still not as big as they've become now. And we never necessarily had this idea to know what everyone else was doing. You know, it was your local community, your local friends that knew about it. However, now with social media, it's like, you know, all I can hashtag is wedding 2017 or GTA weddings, and I'll see who had what photographer, who had what vendor, what pictures were taken, how the set looked. I know friends that are getting married this summer, and a lot of them didn't even go to see the venue 2 months before it. They're like, we saw it on Instagram, we liked it, we called them, my dad went, signed the deposit, and boom. Because with social media, it's so like close, right? Like everything is so accessible. If I want to know what someone's done in Dubai, what the latest wedding trend is there, it takes me less than 5 seconds. So I think that's a really, really good point. And the more we see things, the more exposure we get, the more we want to, I guess, do different things, right? Do you also think there's an aspect of competition? Like you go to your friend's wedding or you go to someone else's wedding and you're like, okay, well, I really like that. Now I want to do that.
I think for sure. Like for me growing up, as like, this may sound like cliche, but I love Disney princesses.
Yeah.
And like you just dream of this whole big fairy tale happening, and now I'm growing up and I'm seeing celebrities create that fantasy, and it's like, wow, that's actually possible. Like, I want to do that. So I think it's just seeing someone do something, and now you just want to one-up them and see, like, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to take my own twist on it.
And I think you're right. If we see celebrities, like people doing it, we're like, well, we can do it. How, you know, maybe we don't have to do it in such a lavish way, but we can still do this, and we can have our wedding tagged. And I think another big thing that we're going to talk about on the other side of the break is this whole thing about marketing your wedding, right? With wedding hashtags, and it's become follow us, and people are seeing random people's weddings they've never been to see their outfits and the jewelry and the men's tuxedos and what photographer are you taking, and people are flying in photographers from across Canada and places. So we're gonna talk a little bit about how your own wedding has almost become a marketing brand for yourself. So we're going to talk about that. But before we go to our break, I want to touch base with Cassandra really quick. Cass, have we got any tweets?
Yeah, so we've been getting in tons of tweets. So we got in one from Henry, and he said, what's a good age to get married at? Like, so what do you guys think? What age do you guys think is too young, too old? What do you think would be the most appropriate age to start getting married?
The legal age, firstly. I'm
Yeah,
just going to start by saying that. The legal age. And, you know, I find this question is asked a lot. People are like, well, we've been together for a while. When should we get married? When we shouldn't? I don't think relationships in life, like human connections, can ever be capped. I don't think we can number them. I've met some wonderful couples that, you know, only found each other in their late 40s and their late 30s. I know some great couples that were high school sweethearts and got married literally like turning 20 years old. So I think it depends on you. It depends on the life you have and the life you want to lead. You know, some people are very career focused and they feel like it might hinder it. Some people say, and I really believe in in today's century, like that notion is broken now. Like as much as women work after, so do men, and we kind of work together with each other and we both push our dreams. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think there's a specific age?
Well, I know personally that I've said this all throughout high school, that I want to make sure my life is established on my own, and I want my career to be successful before I am committed to anything.
Like before you
that.
invite anyone else into your space and mix
like,
it.
of course, like if you have a boyfriend, like that's different, but to be like fully married, I feel like that can cause an obstacle in your career depending on what you want.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that's my first priority.
Okay.
I agree. I think you should live life to your fullest, and if you find someone that you really connect with at a young age or an old age, I think this like kind of anxiety that like, oh, I'm 30 and I'm still single. I think that's kind of constructed, and it's reminiscent of an older time, not a current time where we have more free agency, and you know, you can live a happy, loving life with friends in your life for a long time, and then you actually may find a person. You don't have to settle for someone early and, you know, risk that person not being real.
Absolutely. On the other side of the break, we are going to talk about branding your own wedding. Stay tuned, everybody. Thanks for watching #. And you are watching #NoFilter. Welcome back to all our viewers, and thank you for tweeting in. I really appreciate it. We received a whole bunch of tweets. We are going to try to get to all of them. So Cassandra, start away.
So we got in a tweet from Andrew, and this could be a question to the panelists, to you, Ruchika, anyone who wants to answer this. It says, what is your dream wedding? Oh. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Like, if you could have absolutely anything at your wedding, like no budget, anything, what's your dream wedding?
Okay, so don't laugh at me. Can I answer this first? I got really excited. Okay. So my dream wedding is, there's this scene in Sex and the City. It was when the two men were, in Sex and the City 2, two men were going to their wedding, and Carrie and everyone went to show up. I don't know if you guys remember it. So there's waters under, and there's a little bridge, and there was little like doves floating in the water. So I want to really like silver frosted, very like white wonderland kind of wedding, if that makes sense, and like doves everywhere, and like Yeah, okay. I just embarrassed myself on national television, but that's okay. Yes, that's what I would want if I had no budget restrictions. I can go on, so maybe you guys should skip me because I could say a lot of my dream wedding. So, yeah.
I'm with the winter like wonderland kind of. I really love the idea of just like you're in white. Like I want white all around me as well, just to match. But I also want photos taken outside. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of iffy about that. But there's also a video going around on Twitter of the bride like dancing for her husband with all her bridesmaids, and it's like an 8-minute video, and she's like dancing to Beyonce, and like she has her full like wedding dress on, but then she rips it so it's like a shorter skirt.
So
and
cute.
it's just like, it's such a well done dance. Like they're professional dancers.
Obviously.
And I just think it's so cool just to like do that for your husband, like do it for everyone there. So like I really like a performance aspect there as well.
Okay, Robert?
I think mine would be very, very minimal. And not,
He's a minimalist, killing
Yeah.
our dreams here. All the
No.
men watching are gonna love him.
but not because of finance, just because I think, you know, it's a special, intimate moment between someone who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, someone I've devoted my entire life with. And I don't feel like I need to share that with anyone else. And
Okay,
so
cool.
I'd probably have it somewhere, probably in nature. Maybe we'd go like hike a mountain and get married on top of a mountain or something like that. But
See,
no one there.
That would
just us
happen,
two.
but I maybe think 2% of South Asians can physically do that, and like that's maybe because their parents can't like get a visa to come, or like there's a huge issue because South Asian weddings, forget it. Like it's like 7 days worth of different activities. It's a huge party, and me and my sister were talking about this last week because I'm all about a big wedding. Like, I think it's like your big party. It's my once in my lifetime I'm hosting like this huge invitation. Yeah. So I want everybody that I've ever met in my lifetime that has touched my life, come, party, enjoy. She's the total opposite. She's like, I want it to be close. I want it to be a small knit affair. I'm like, I don't know if you realize that you're in a South Asian family. That might be a little bit challenging, but I think that would be really cool.
I'm an Italian family, so
You can
entirely
understand.
Unrealistic that I'm gonna have a small
Yeah,
wedding.
your mom is going to faint.
There's gonna be like 400 people there,
Yeah.
and they're all gonna be like, "Hey!"
And a 12-course meal for you guys.
12. That is a
Literally
real
a
thing.
12-course meal at
That's a
an
real
Italian
thing.
wedding.
Lasagna for an appetizer.
Seriously. Lindsay, you're getting married. So
Yes.
are you like, okay, how was I going to plan my dream wedding? Am I going to do this? Did you have a theme or a concept in mind?
I originally wanted a really big wedding in a barn. Once I started
Cute.
looking at wedding venues and getting numbers together, it seemed totally unrealistic to spend that much money just for one day. So we wound up picking a really small venue in Niagara Falls at a winery.
That's beautiful.
Which has a
We
barn
love
sort
that.
of on the side. So it's sort of a compromise of your dream versus what's
Niagara is
realistic.
beautiful. To
It
get
is
married in a
gorgeous.
vineyard is stunning.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cora, do you have a book low-key hiding in your room with like your dream wedding? I feel like you would.
No, but I probably should.
You
Yeah,
probably
it's in my
should. You probably Pinterest save it.
Yeah.
You're like me. I have 182 Pinterest pins saved
Just for
from like
weddings?
5 years ago. Yeah. Like, oh, like this. Oh, green and teal. Oh, peach and this. Like, it's overwhelming. And I
Yeah.
think that's why, leading to our next topic, this idea of having an organization more and more for millennials, I think matters because we're much busier. We're doing more things. We're out, we're about, our parents are both working. We're in a generation, we have, working both parents. Back in the day, your mom, your grandmom could sit and plan everything for you. They're working too now. It's become a team effort, right? And now people live further and further. Before, families were closer. You could have your sister in Seattle, your brother in Chicago. You're coordinating everyone's needs, their likes, and you want to get everyone's input, right? At the end of the day, and everyone is going to have a say. Whether you're like, no, everyone's not going to have an opinion, everyone does end up having an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everything is everyone else's dream just as much as it is your dream. Your parents dream about this from the day you were born, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles. It's all a very big deal with the family.
And I think that's the thing, the art of communicating it, the art of understanding each other's, what you give, what you take, what aspect of this, okay, I'll let you take this part, I'll let you have this, I'll let you choose this color, I'll let you not choose this. So I think that aspect as well matters. So branded weddings. Cassandra, I'm just gonna throw this randomly to you. Do you think weddings have become like a brand in itself? Like couples are hashtagging like when they're wedding shopping, engagements, they've almost made a brand out of their wedding.
Oh, I totally think so. I think weddings are almost like ridiculous now. People are planning like their hashtags and like everything has to be like under that. and they want it to be like a huge event. Like they want everyone to know about it. And even Cora was saying about like that video that was posted online about the bride. I know exactly which video you're talking about. So that just shows like how social media has taken over. Like everyone sees weddings that they weren't even a part of. Like that's just my opinion. I think it's gone a bit over the top.
Okay. I feel like I attend 500 weddings a year because of social media, like actually speaking. So branding our own weddings, what we've been seeing more with millennials, research-wise as well, is exactly that. They want to create a brand out of themselves. Not necessarily just till the wedding day, they actually want to take it on later. So an example is, let's just say we took Mr. and Mrs. Smith Get Hitched 2018. They would take that as a hashtag. Right from when they're going venue looking, people are trying to post, and now we're at venue option 4, Mr. and Mrs., you know, hashtagging that, trying to figure it out. So it's almost like if you came across my hashtag, you could literally watch my journey. It's like as if I was a celebrity. I want people to have this voyeuristic view on me. I've seen wedding hashtags like their whole wedding, and then after you see like their honeymoon, you see like first baby a year later. Like the hashtag continues, it almost stays with them. Do you guys think that's a little bit like, till the wedding it's okay, but then you lose your privacy? Or do you think in a day and age of social media, like people are gonna see it anyways, because if they're your friend, they're gonna, like, you know what I mean? They're part of your life anyways.
As a photographer, I obviously see this a lot because all the photos I take at weddings obviously get hashtagged and get added to the thing. And usually at weddings, they encourage people, at least the last one I was at, this girl was specifically known to be like a social media warrior, like that was her thing. Like everyone knew it. So she had a hashtag for the wedding and she encouraged everyone to post and post and post. And yeah, entirely creates a brand and
in itself.
Even after that, yeah.
On the other side of the break, we are going to talk a little bit more about this and the idea of budgets and how to organize yourself. Stay tuned, everybody. How can you say no to pizza? Hi everyone, I'm Ruchika Bindra and you are watching #NoFilter. On the other side of the break, we were talking about weddings, millennial weddings, from branding your wedding to really understanding some of the things surrounding it. Cassandra, what tweets are coming in?
So we just got in a tweet from Taylor, which I think is kind of controversial. I feel like this conversation could go either way. Yeah, we got a tweet. It says, do you think it should still fall on the men in the relationship to propose? So I don't know about that one. I feel like our world's kind of going in a feminist direction. What do you guys think? Do you think the man should still be in charge of it?
Oh boy, Cassandra, let's start with you.
Right. I mean, like, I'm kind of traditional in that sense. I think it would be really cute if the guy proposed, but I'm not like opposed to the girl proposing. I think it could go either way.
Very well said. I agree with her. I'm a little bit traditional. And I'm also like, okay, but don't do it here. Like if we'll go eat somewhere, like, but don't even think about it here. But like you didn't think about it here, right? But not at the harbor front. Like I will kill any surprise that could happen. So if you're one of those girls like me, like Lord behold. But I think it's cool with today the world changing. I think if a girl wants to propose, she can. I just don't know if some cultures have sort of a procedure to it, so how that would play. But I think anything's possible, guys.
Yeah, I think
she's like, no.
There's always so much tradition and cultural aspects to it, but I think it just depends on whoever's more of the romantic in the couple and who, wants to make that first step.
But then I could play devil's advocate because I like to do that, and someone could say, well, we're losing tradition, right? Like there are certain things in life that have tradition. If we start evolving everything and modernizing everything, then where are we holding on? Like, are we going to come to a point in 20, 30 years where everything's going to be changed? Like we're going to have no traditions. And then someone may say, well, we're making a new tradition by doing this. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the people who say that, anyone can propose at any time kind of thing, I personally like that because, well, first off, I think it gives more power to women.
Yep.
Because I think it also allows women to think about marriage in more of a realistic sense. It's not of a thing that happens to them, but a thing that they're participating in. The active decision to spend the rest of your life with someone also takes a lot of the stress off the guy.
Yeah.
He's like, what if she says no? What if she says no? And what you said for tradition, I think that, love trumps all. And if you really are committed to someone, then you'll be able to shed something that is below that. And at least in my opinion, I believe love is like tradition, you know.
So Susan from Beautiful Beginnings is coming in on the other side of the break to talk about once the proposal is done, now what happens when you're planning everything else. So before we actually get to her coming on, I'm going to push this question a little bit and have some fun with you guys. Cassandra, what would be your dream proposal?
Ooh, my dream proposal. I think something very simplistic, like just between me and my husband. I think now with social media and whatnot, everyone wants to throw these huge proposals with like everyone around, everyone to see. And I think that's like a lot of pressure, especially on the person being proposed to. So I would want like a really small proposal between me and my husband, and maybe something cute, like use something that's like symbolic within our relationship.
Okay, cool. Lindsay, do you mind sharing?
Well, we were at Collingwood at Blue Mountain for our 7-year anniversary. At that point, we'd had a lot of people coming up to us saying, oh, 7 years, is it time? And we had kind of talked about it beforehand and decided we were going to wait a little bit later. We were on our way to get fire oven roasted pizza at the fire hall, and we were walking, and he stopped and said, hey, can I get a picture from these two ladies that were walking by? And I was sort of taken aback, and sure, let's get a picture going. And he took one, and we kind of, it was in sort of a bad lighting, so we said, let's take it again. And I sort of ruined the surprise by being, oh, well, like, we don't need to bother them. We don't need to take up that much of their time. And then he went to take the last one, and he said, well, wait a minute. And then he got down on one knee. And the girls were all, like, fortunately, we had the perfect photo opportunity. We were taking pictures, so it was really cute and romantic. And
that's so cute.
yeah, he's more of the romantic in our relationship for sure.
Okay, I feel like more and more guys are becoming that way.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is great. It balances it out a little bit. What would your...
I think my dream proposal, I'm kind of a weird guy. I think like kind of like over romanticizing something puts like weird dispositions on like your future. So like my actual dream proposal would just be like, meet me at this address, and then I go to the address and it's a courthouse, and then she's just waiting there with the papers, and she's like, just sign.
Over here we have a romantic, and then we have real, like extreme realism.
No, because it's like,
But, like,
they're committed to spending their life with me, and they just want to be like, this is it.
They just want the papers done. Let's seal this deal.
Yeah,
okay.
let's make it happen.
Cora?
I don't know if I have anything specific, but my biggest fear is knowing that it's gonna happen. Like having the surprise ruin would break my heart. But all I know is that like I want it to be something similar to Cass. Like I want it to be something, even like an inside joke between us, like something very personal to us. But also like I've heard stories of people getting proposed to in like Times Square, and I'm like, ooh, that's nice.
You think that's cute?
I love New York. New York's my favorite city. So if you were to do something in New York on Broadway or something, yeah.
Hint, hint. That's idea. Future Mr. Perfect, wherever he is watching #NoFilter. We're gonna replay this episode at our wedding time. Okay, so guys, Susan is coming on, and she is going to touch on this aspect of how weddings have kind of become something that involves, as we said, so many families, right? Mm-hmm. And I came to learn a little bit more and more about this as I've also seen so many weddings happening around me. Not just pertinent to me, but I've seen it happening, and how having something organized is so helpful, right? Having someone kind of guide you, okay, what's your budget? What's the kind of dream you want? What's the envision? You may be like, I want a simple wedding. Okay, well, do you know you need this, and this? Sometimes we don't even know so many things that we think in last minute we're like, oh, and that was added on, and this was added on. And I know a lot of people have misconceptions that wedding planning and wedding event organizers are someone you need necessarily for the whole thing. I know a lot of them, and her as well, you can take them the day of if you need organization, which I think is a phenomenal idea, to have at least day of wedding planners, because I want my parents to be enjoying it. I want them hanging out with their friends and family. I don't want your dad or your mom running to see if the caterer came, if the vendor is set up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I find a lot of them, like, I've seen at weddings the next day, I'm like, oh, Aunt, did you see this? And she's like, no, I was helping your dad out. I was looking at this and looking at that. And I'm like, now you lost out a little bit on those precious moments. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about that. Have you guys kind of seen the trend now more and more of having organized sort of wedding planners and wedding events?
Yeah. I appreciate when a wedding has a wedding planner, because that means I really don't have to deal with the bride. It's not like the bride's a bad person, but they're busy, right? Like, it is their wedding, and they're supposed to be focusing on their day, and but they're also like running all over the place and like, what did my father wear to the wedding? And so the wedding planner is literally like my second, defense, and they organize people for me and do a lot of my work.
All right, cool. On the other side of the break, we are going to finally bring on Susan Ramroop from Beautiful Beginning to help us debunk and put together the wedding millennial frenzy. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm Ruchika Bindra on #NoFilter. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm really excited to have with us Susan Ramroop from Beautiful Beginnings. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. I know it's probably going to be a busy season for you soon because for all the weddings coming on. So tell me, A, how did you get into this business? And B, why did you think this was needed?
Sure. So actually, my sister got married about 12 years ago, and back then her wedding was 800 guests. So,
Oh my God.
pretty big Indian wedding. So at that point, we found that it was us doing all the running around. So we made all the centerpieces, we did all the favors. It was us and our parents that had to do it. Had I known there was someone that I could have hired to help us do that, it would have been a great help.
Of course.
So about 6 years ago, I actually got certified. I did a side course while I was doing my undergrad, and then I just started. So my first year, I actually did family and friend events for free to build up my clientele. And then from then on, it's just been growing.
That's amazing. Were you kind of like, when you went into this, were you like, this is a huge market? Like, this is something that brides actually need?
It is, and it's something that you don't actually understand until you actually go through it. So wedding planners have always been that one conundrum, should I hire one, should I not? But until you actually go through that process midway through is when you actually realize you need someone there.
Amazing. So what has been so far your most exciting wedding to work on? Like one that maybe challenged you. It doesn't have to be the largest, but one that challenged you.
So actually my last wedding, which was last weekend, it was actually one of the best ones that we've done for this year. And so this bride had a complete vision of everything that she wanted nailed down to a T. And the great part about it is that we actually fulfilled her entire vision. So for her Sangeet, which was her pre-event, she wanted to have an old school Bollywood theme. So we did all the decor that she wanted, everything to a T is exactly what she wanted. And what made it impactful for us was the fact that she could actually say, Susan, this is what we wanted.
She envisioned it and it came into life.
Right. Even
That's
bringing
really
in
cool.
old school drinks from India, of having like the Fanta and the Limca, we brought all of that in for her.
That's amazing. So here's my question for you that I know a lot of people have tweeted us before and asked, and we will get into our tweets very soon. A lot of people are like, okay, well, I'm not spending a lot on my wedding. Should I still hire a wedding planner? I can afford maybe to get a wedding planner, but are they going to be able to give this vision at a fraction of a cost, or can we create this on a smaller scale? How does that work when people come in with different budgets, right? You have these lavish weddings, and then you have people that want a little bit more of a medium wedding. Where do you kind of help them create that?
Right, so it all depends on, again, on the type of wedding that we're having. So if you're having an Indian wedding that has 5 events for 500 people versus a smaller one-day wedding that has about 100 guests, the difference of cost is there as well. But for me, I would say having a day of planner is what you need. Anybody can plan a wedding. It's not hard to do your research. It comes down to time. But at the end of the day, anybody can just do their research. They can talk to people. They can make phone calls. But it's someone really there to execute your vision on the day of. And that's what I find is most beneficial.
I totally agree with you, and I feel like I've been to so many weddings, and the ones that I've seen with wedding planners, I cannot tell you how flawless they have gone. I mean, obviously there's probably some glitches, but as long as a guest you don't see it, I think that's what, you know, as a bride and groom you want, right?
And that's exactly it. So it's things like for your ceremony, the last thing you want is your mom remembering to bring the rings or bring the marriage license or all the ceremony items. Those are things you don't want your mom remembering to do. So what we actually do is about 2 weeks before the wedding, we'll sit down with the entire family. We put together a pack-up list of everything that's needed, and we take that all for you so that on the day of, you guys just show up and smile.
That's amazing. What has been your most biggest wedding you've done? Most largest one? Was it the one last weekend?
No. So one of the largest one was another Indian wedding. It was 900 guests.
Oh my.
And that was actually last November.
Okay, so I would faint at 900 guests. I'm just saying.
So they only had a ceremony because of the fact that it was 900 people, but it was fairly large.
Oh my God, okay. So with budget-wise, let's say someone comes and says, I want to spend this much and this much. How do you allocate it? Do you say, okay, for your wedding day, you're going to spend this much you should put in a photographer? Like, what does a wedding planner necessarily like do? And how many aspects do they touch?
Yeah, so there's different aspects that we do. So if I come in as your full wedding planner, the very first thing that I do with you is I put together a budget. Right off the bat, I need to be realistic with you and tell you how much things are going to cost, because you as getting married the first time, you really don't know how much things are. And that's what I also find is the biggest shock with parents as well, is that they see these numbers, and 10 years ago, these numbers didn't exist.
Yes.
So what we do is we actually sit down and kind of get a feel of the vision of it is that you want for your wedding, and then we do line by line of each item. So if you tell me that for a photographer, you're looking for more of the dramatic look, then I have specific photographers that are within different budget ranges that I can introduce you to.
Oh, amazing. Okay. And have you worked on like different weddings of all different nationalities and cultures,
Yes.
right?
So we actually specialize in fused weddings, but we touch upon all different cultures.
That's amazing. So do you have to do a bit of research on them? Like, have you ever done a wedding on necessarily a culture you may not know too much about?
Yes. So for one of the weddings I've done a few years ago, it was actually a combination of Chinese and Hindu wedding.
Very
So
cool.
what we actually did was we incorporated the Hindu elements to the Chinese culture.
That must
So-
have been exciting.
Yeah. And so one thing, it saves you cost because you're doing one ceremony in one shot, and you're eliminating the number of outfits, and you get everybody in one room at one time.
True. It's funny you say that. We were talking to Robert because he's a photographer, and I was telling him, I don't realize, like how you said parents don't realize, forget parents, I don't realize
Yeah.
how expensive things have become. Like minimal, simple photography, like wedding packages are like 5,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
4,000, and that's like they're doing you like a
And that's a
favor, and they
steal.
make me feel like they're doing you a favor, and I'm like, really? Honestly, give me a photography class. Like, can I do something? Volunteer hours? Like, we should have bridal volunteer hours or something.
Yeah.
But I know we had a few tweets for Susan. So, Cassandra, do you want to pick one?
So we got a tweet in that's literally directly for Susan.
Okay.
It says, question for Susan, have you encountered more gay couples wanting wedding planners now that homophobia has started to lessen?
Oh.
So no, I actually haven't. And one of the reasons why I think is just because they're on a smaller scale.
Right. So far, I think. And I think in the next 10, 20 years,
That
that's
will
gonna
definitely
be,
grow.
And especially because that group loves to be so,
Definitely.
presentable and so organized and fashion forward. So I
Yeah.
think it'll definitely be there. So Lindsay, you're getting married next year.
Yes.
So where have you sort of found your biggest stump in planning?
For me, the biggest hurdle so far has been the venue. I think it took a really long time to nail down a venue that had everything that we needed
Yep.
and everything that we that could be easy for the guests to, like accessible for all our guests and accessible for us. And yeah, I think that was once we got that nailed down, I feel like it should hopefully all be downhill
And it's
from
funny
here.
because that's the hardest part. So once you actually find your venue, that's it. The next hardest part for you will be your seating.
Woo.
Oh my God, seating arrangement nightmares.
Nightmare for everyone.
Nightmare for everyone. People like upset. People want to like everyone wants to be in the front of everything.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're all gonna be in the front, there's gonna be no back of this. Like I have seen weddings where people have gone to the reception, and I've seen like people walk out because they saw their seating arrangement and they were upset. And I'm like, where are you going? Like, we didn't even get to talk. And they're like, we're leaving. We're sitting in too far back. And I'm like, take my seat. Like, I'm just happy to be at the
Yeah.
wedding, right? So you're always gonna have those kinds of I think challenges. So I know, Cora, what do you think? Would you why are millennials leaning more towards taking wedding planners?
I think I would definitely choose one just because I see so many different options. Like you said, the barn wedding, and I was like, wow, that'd be so
Yeah.
just rustic and cool. And then I have my idea of the winter wonderland. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I just want to lay out all my different options and have someone guide me with what they think that I truly want. And I'm really someone who likes opinions of other people. I like considering everyone else's to come to my final conclusion. So I think with someone else's advice, it would really just make everything so much easier.
Which I think is really cool because a lot of brides don't want anyone's opinion.
Yeah.
On the other side of the break, we're going to talk to Susan about why millennials are taking more and more wedding planning and why she thinks it's one of the most important things to have when you are going down your big day. Stay tuned, everybody. Hello, #NoFilter viewers, everybody across GTN Toronto. Thank you for tuning in. We are talking with Susan Ramroop from Beautiful Beginnings, and she is kind of helping us debunk a lot of myths, and I have one more for you. Is it true, this is what I've heard, that parents absolutely do not like wedding planners because it's like, no, my daughter's big day is being taken by somebody else. Is this true?
So yes, it is
Okay.
and it isn't, but it depends on how you actually approach the situation. So for me, what I find, going into an Indian family and they see a stranger coming in that wants to take control of that day, biggest issue of life. And it's only because they're not used to someone else having that help there.
Yeah.
So the way that I approach my clients is I don't approach them as an actual client, I approach them as a family member. So, and that's the way that I actually build my trust with them. Once I know that they can actually trust me is when they actually let go of that and they actually let me in, so that on the day of, especially ceremony-wise, I can actually be their right hand instead of them worrying about some stranger coming in and trying to take over them.
Are you like one of those, like in the movies, wedding planners with walkie-talkies and like, now Joey, go to the other hall, is the hall ready? Are you a walkie-talker? Oh.
No, so I used to be when I first started, but not anymore, because I find that I'm always running around and I'm in my flats, I'm just dressed comfortably so that I can do my job.
Okay, cool, because I always see those in movies, I'm like, do they all run in walkie-talkies?
Yeah, no, they're a hassle.
Okay. My question for you is, like you said, so you go in, you kind of approach the family member, you try to build their trust, you set up a budget with them, and then everything from, is it things like invitations, visions of every function, like is there every aspect literally that a wedding planner can help you with?
Yeah, so if we're doing the full wedding planning, the first thing that we do again with you is your budget, but then we also sit down and try to visualize what it is that you want your wedding to look like. Chances are you're gonna have this big dream vision, like you wanted your Winter Wonderland wedding theme, but you don't know the cost associated with it. So the good thing about us having us there is you tell us what you want, but we can actually bring you down a level and tell you if it's realistic or not.
Okay, so how much on average would a winter, just kill our dream right now, if I want like water and doves floating?
So that depends
at
on
the
your
reception.
venue. So I have done Winter Wonderland where I brought in figure skaters.
That's cute.
So it's doable.
With fake ice?
Yeah, they actually come in with a rubber mat and that's what they skate on. Sky's the limit now.
Was that like their idea or you?
No, that was the bride and groom. So it was actually their connection, and then it was just me a matter of coordinating it for them.
Can I tell you the coolest thing I would love to do, but I know it's not possible, unless maybe you could? So in a lot of reality shows and dance shows, do you see like people dancing in this big ball? It's like a clear ball, like aerial dancers.
Yeah.
And you always see them kind of the couple doing this. Like, you know, we used to get those little crystal balls at home. I would want to dance inside a crystal ball.
You can do that.
In a crystal ball?
Yeah,
Okay.
I get you. That don't worry.
And make it like a snow globe.
A snow globe, a real life snow globe.
Oh
See,
my
I have so many, like, this is the thing why I realize a lot of people ask me about having this episode, but I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of it. I think in the middle of spending so much that you already are, having somebody to organize it, and you kind of I want my parents to remember the moments. I don't want them to be busy, right? Like, I don't want them to be running around for everything. We're in a day and age, I think, where and correct me if I'm wrong, because you probably know more about this than me, that now it's different than before. People are working. It's not so much also about social media, but also both your parents are working. Your grandmother and mom aren't sitting at home all day that they can plan it. Everyone is allocating a certain part of their personal time for it. Do you think that's something that's kind of also led to the reason why we have more of a planner?
I think so. And again, so everybody's working, as you mentioned, everybody's working full time, and our parents are getting older. There's only so much that they can do at this stage too.
Right, okay. Cass, any tweets?
Yeah, so we got in a tweet and it says, are weddings a dying tradition? So I know we're talking a lot about how weddings are getting a lot more extravagant. And I wanted to know, particularly like from Susan, where do you think the future of weddings is going? Do you think people are going to start going more simple, more extravagant? What do you think?
So I actually think we're at the point now where weddings are turning the trend. So 10 years ago, it's when we had the more traditional, simple weddings, whereas now it's all about technology. It's all about having the big backdrops with all the LED lights. And I think we're almost stepping back now and back into the past where we're trying to bring simple back in. So yes, things are still lavish, but they're still simple. So I think weddings are never going to die. People are always getting married, and it's just the trends that are constantly changing. But we reinforce trends from the past.
Okay. And do you feel like, because I feel social media makes it so much harder. Like, you go on Pinterest and you type one thing and then it leads you to another, and then one day you want a rustic wedding, and one day I want doves, and then the next day I want a Winter Wonderland, and then the next day I want the Taj Mahal here. Like, where do you declutter? And especially, I guess, for you, it makes it harder, right? Because you have a bride and groom sitting with all these things.
Yeah, and that's the exact same thing. So for us, we love and hate Pinterest.
Okay.
And it's only because it helps us kind of visualize where it is that you want to go with your wedding. But at the same time, we're there to ground you and bring you back down to reality and tell you, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
But the also great thing about it too is that it just gives you inspiration. It kind of helps all of your vendors that are in playing with your wedding, show them what it is that you want.
Okay, cool. And I have another question for you. Actually, somebody asked me this today when I told them this show was coming on. So I know, Sam, you're watching it. This one's for you. She said that, what if I've come to a point now that my venue's set up, my cards are set, like everything's done.
Yeah.
I just need someone to help me find a few vendors that are trusted in the industry. So what she was saying is that more and more now, there's amazing photographers all over, but there's certain photographers that get our vision. So do you know someone, like you said, who's more into dramatic, who's more into modern approach? Do wedding planners say, okay, you don't need to take me for everything because you've done a lot, but I can, for a fee, charge you and give you some trusted vendors that can create the vision you have? Like, let's say she had a Winter Wonderland. Everything was done. Her parents are like, no, we're doing everything. Would you still be like, okay, I can help you get in touch with these vendors and organize sort of the entertainment for you or this? Is there partial things that wedding planners can also help with?
Yeah, definitely. So what I've actually done is throughout my years of planning, I've built out my vendor team based on who I know does what and the type of theme and the variety that they actually can do.
Oh, amazing.
So when it comes to actually allocating and giving those references to my couples, if someone tells me they only need me there for the day of, I have no problems at all giving them referrals to my vendors, simply because then I know the wedding day will be that much easier because of people that I've worked with already.
Okay. And typically, have you ever seen sort of, how do you handle the communication, like between a wedding planner and the groom side and the bride side? How does that work?
So especially when it comes to weddings where we have multiple religions and multiple cultures coming in together, the one thing that I actually do is about 2 weeks before, I actually sit down individually with each family, and then I go through the actual itinerary, go through everything where everyone has to be so that there's no surprises on the actual day of. And then I bring both families together the week of.
Nice.
So that way we have a big family meeting so families can get anything out that they have to say beforehand before I bring them together.
Okay. On the other side of the break, before we close our episode, we're going to talk to Susan about what her recommendations are, what she thinks are the top 5 bridal and wedding trends going on right now, and what her dream wedding would be like. Stay tuned, everybody. Can I just tell you, this is such a fun episode because now I want to go home, Susan, and I just want to like look up every wedding that ever existed. I'm just putting this out there. For a lot of you that want to check out Susan's company, it is called Beautiful Beginnings. Their work is fabulous. I personally have seen it at a few weddings. I've also seen it at bridal shows. I've seen it at Kismet, which is a really big South Asian show, but she also does other, as she told us herself, mixed cultural weddings, Italian weddings, whatever you need, and her work is really good, so do check it out. Her website link will be on Rogers TV, #NoFilters website for you to see and rewatch this episode. Cassandra, I know we have a tweet for Susan, so we can only take one more, so I want to thank you all for tweeting us.
So we kind of touched on this before, but this person tweeted, why is it so important to outdo the next person, and why do you always have to be the talk of the town? So we were saying before Susan came on, as millennials, it's a big deal with like social media, branding your wedding, and just outdoing the next person, just all competition from what you've seen online. Susan, you've been working with couples. Why do you think they feel the need to always like outdo the wedding before them?
So it's a funny question. So I don't think it's the need that they want to outdo each other. So the way that we look at it now, weddings are productions.
Yeah.
Let's face it, they're big shows for everyone to come and enjoy, but it's also personalizing your wedding to make it you. So I think when people go ahead and they post pictures or Instagramming, they're hashtagging it, it's a sense to show people what they can do, and it's the way that you perceive that. So if I look at that, I'm gonna be like, oh, I wanna do something better than that, but not everybody's like that.
Right, okay, so you need to remember that. Do you guys sort of feel like social media has helped it or kind of made it harder?
It definitely makes it harder.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, you want to sort of have something that represents you as a couple, so you want to do things that sort of represent your relationship as a whole, but at the same time, you know, you want it to be a memorable experience for all your guests as well.
I always find social media, as much as Pinterest like gives me way too much, I think it's great because I can see things. Like I can see a venue before going in because I can see how it's decorated from a bride and groom's party. If I follow their hashtag, I can see, okay, how did this wedding planner do this? When she's talking to me like about, you know, setting up, I don't know, doves, I can see how she's done it before. So it's kind of nice because you have something to see. Like I can go on your website and see your photography and be like, oh, he did this. So when he's talking to me about this dramatic appeal, okay, Robert kind of means that. So I feel like for brides, what more do you want than to see it almost like as a sample? See a sample? Robert?
Even as a photographer, Pinterest is probably one of my best friends because I was mostly a portrait photographer. I did fashion, and then I was like, oh, you know, the rent's getting a bit steep. I think I should move into something else. And I started doing wedding photography, and Pinterest was definitely there because you have all these very well-versed, well-established photographers doing classical things, doing new things, alternative things, you know, really changing the pace of the medium. So yeah, it definitely helps me to
Susan, can I tell you, I've been to some phenomenal weddings this year. I went to a friend's wedding in Switzerland, and it was a destination wedding. It was beautiful, wedding done outside. And I was like, oh my God, what do you think are the top 5 wedding trends for this year?
So for this year, Well, do you want to talk about this year or for 2017?
2017, sorry.
So for 2017, if we're looking at colors, so next year the floral carnation strands are huge for next year.
Okay.
And we're looking more towards simple weddings as well.
Nice.
So colors like mints are huge for next year, and the blushes are coming back in. So we're looking at the lighter colors, so more of the pastels, the pearl-based colors, and then again, simple vintage is coming back in for next year.
Oh my God, I'm getting so excited, guys. I can't even tell you. Okay, Susan, really quick, we have to wrap up our show. Thank you for coming on. If you could tell me 2 special things about Beautiful Beginnings that our brides-to-be or potential in-laws, family members that are watching should know, what could it be?
So definitely Beautiful Beginnings is family-oriented. We treat every wedding as it's one of our family members getting married, and that's the way that we look at our couples. And the other thing is that we're actually there for you on the day of. We're not there to make you spend more money, to actually cost you more money. We want to actually help you and your parents at the end of the day.
Amazing. Okay, really last question. Don't kill me. I need to ask this. I was waiting to. Have you ever seen a bride and groom fight or a family fight?
Yes.
For wedding planning? And you're like in the middle. You're like, no, Auntie, I'm on your side. No, Mrs. Smith, I'm on your. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, and there's as a wedding planner, I've been the mediator, I've been the therapist, I've been the bride's best friend. Like it's insane the amount of things that people will tell me, but you have to. It comes with the role.
I love that you said you've been a therapist. That could be a new degree you can add. You never know.
be.
Psychology. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Once again, check out Susan Ramroop's company at Beautiful Beginnings. Lots of great wedding ideas. Thank you for giving us this eye-opener. And I hope all our millennials enjoyed it. Keep looking at Pinterest, but just remember, we can make your vision come to life if you're a little bit more real about it. Thank you so much for watching #NoFilter, and we will see you next week.